Hello, I am Blaze and welcome back to Warframe. Today I'm going to be going over our new attack cats released with the second part of the Spectres of the Rail updates, the Smita and Adarza Kavats. In order to start getting your own Kavats, you will need a few things. Namely, you will need the Kavat Incubator Upgrade segment, the blueprint for which is available either as a research objective from your clan dojo's Tenno lab, or occasionally as a random drop from Grineer Hayaka Masters. Alternatively, you can buy the completed upgrade segment outright from the market for 175 platinum, which is honestly quite expensive. After this is installed, you'll be able to breed Kavats, which itself will require 10 Kavat DNA samples per incubation. These DNA samples can be acquired by going to Orokin Derelict missions, finding the feral Kavats that are skulking around the map, and scanning them. This has a rare chance of giving you a DNA sample each time, so I recommend bringing the synthesis scanner equipped with the widgets that allows each scan to sometimes count twice, to up your chances of getting them. The DNA samples can themselves also be purchased from the market for 5 platinum each, but this can get expensive quickly, so unless you're in a major rush, I would not recommend this. Kavats and Kubrows also require some upkeep after the fact in the form of DNA stabilizers, which you can buy from the market for credits. Their genetic stability will degrade every 24 hours, which will also impact their maximum health. This genetic stability can be restored with the DNA stabilizers, but if it reaches negative 100% then they will die and be lost forever. With the Incubator Upgrade segment, they will instead be automatically put into stasis at negative 95%, but if you don't have that upgrade segment, make sure you put your new pet on ice if you don't intend to log in for a week or so. All this explanation and I haven't even reached what the Kavat breeds actually do yet. Well, here we go. As I said, Kavats come in two varieties, the Smita Kavat and the Adarza Kavat. Sadly, neither of them really look much like their amazing Dragonoid feral counterparts, but oh well. Starting with the Adarza Kavat, their two unique abilities are Cat's Eye and Reflect. Cat's Eye will periodically give you and all nearby Tenno an additive 60% critical chance bonus for 10 seconds. This is pretty universally useful and can be especially powerful on some weapons, but the 10-second duration is rather short. Judging by the green aura, this also affects the Adarza Kavat itself, so this can help boost its own damage output into red crit territory if you equip it with the Bite mod. Reflect, meanwhile, says it allows the Kavat to occasionally reflect damage back to an enemy. However, in practice this doesn't actually seem to do much, since I personally haven't noticed much damage mitigation on the part of the Kavat itself, and the reflected damage is negligible due to enemy armor scaling. The Smita Kavat's unique abilities, meanwhile, are Charm and Mischief. Charm is the RNG ability and will sometimes randomly activate to randomly give you one of 6 different effects. The most noticeable is the effect that will force anything you do to be a red crit for 30 seconds, Warframe powers included apparently. This is exceptionally powerful and basically turns you into a walking nuke for 30 seconds, at least in the case of most weapons. Weapons including the Seer and the Mitre will also be forced to red crit, but since they don't have any critical damage multiplier, they will do no added damage in spite of the red numbers, which is a little bit amusing. Other effects are as follows. One is allowing you to cast Warframe powers for no cost for 10 seconds. One allows all pickups in Affinity to be doubled for 120 seconds, including things like energy pickups. One gives you a one-time buff that allows an instant reload and lasts until said reload. One would mitigate the damage of the next hit and will provide 150 overshields afterwards. And one allows the Smita Kavat to spawn 3 to 6 instances of the area's current rare resource for its owner. These have a number of interesting effects, but 1/3 of them, namely ignore next hit and 1 instant reload, are probably what would be considered dud effects. On top of that, the wiki states that any one of these has a 28% chance to activate every 27 seconds, which can itself lead to long periods of time in which you get sweet fuck all. Such is the nature of random chance, I guess, but it can be very frustrating. Mischief, meanwhile, is a lot less of a mouthful to explain. Your Kavat will simultaneously create a decoy with half its health, but a 100% critical chance and 2 times critical damage multiplier, and the real Kavat will turn invisible to avoid enemy attention. The decoy is itself capable of attacking enemies, but Kavat attack power is not especially convincing. However, the ability can be used with a great deal of frequency, potentially allowing the Smita Kavat to survive far better than its Adarza counterpart. Statistically, both Kavat types are very similar, both having 50 base armor, 100 power, and attacks that do 80 slash damage, with a 20% critical hit chance and a 2 times critical damage multiplier, and a 7.5% status chance. The minor variance between the two is that the Adarza Kavat has 40 base health and 70 base shields, going up to 240 and 210 at rank 30 respectively, while the Smita Kavat has 50 base health and 60 base shields, going up to 300 and 180 at rank 30. So on balance, I feel the Smita Kavat is generally the more survivable of the two, even ignoring their abilities. Aside from their unique breed-specific abilities, the Kavats also have access to a number of precept-like mods that can drop from Hayekas and Feral Kavats. I will list these in loosely the order I consider most useful to least useful, though your mileage may vary of course. Sharpened Claws allows the Kavat to launch an attack which sunders armor and rends flesh. I have no idea what the rends flesh part is supposed to mean because it seems to do fuck all in that regard, but it sure does sunder armor. At maximum rank, they can completely strip high-level enemy armor in 1 or 2 hits, which is amazing and makes dealing with such enemies on your own much easier when they go after enemies. Next we have Pounce, which is simply an attack that causes the enemy to enter a stagger animation for several seconds, similar to a single target version of Valkyr's Paralysis. This also opens up the enemy to finish your attacks as well, which is cool. Third, Sense Danger sends out several pulses and reveals enemies up to 50 meters away both on the minimap and causes all enemies in the vicinity to glow a purplish color for 25 seconds, which allows you to see them through walls. This ability is cool thanks to its long range, sort of, but if there are a lot of enemies around then good luck seeing anything useful in the sea of fucking purple. I'd personally rather just stick with the passive enemy radar from Animal Instinct. Swipe is the 4th Kavat mod and allows it to hit enemies from further away, as well as hitting more enemies at once. This could synergize extremely well with Sharpened Claws, but in my own testing it seems that you either get the multiple enemy targeting from Swipe, or you get the armor stripping on a single enemy with Sharpened Claws, not both. So this mod ends up being useless at high levels, but I guess you could try to use it to make leveling the companion a bit less painful at lower levels. Finally, we have Territorial Aggression, which neutralizes wild animals within 40 meters for 15 seconds, stopping them from attacking. An ability which is only useful on the Earth, Mars/Phobos, and sometimes on the Derelicts, and you could do the same but better by just running Oberon. And Oberon's passive works on Hayekas and Drax while Territorial Aggression does not. Garbage. You may have noticed at this point that I don't sound all that happy. That's because Kavat AI is basically the same as Kubrow AI in that it's awful. Leveling companions is in itself already a chore because they don't get affinity if you kill stuff, only if they kill stuff or another Tenno that isn't you kill stuff. So good luck with that. I resorted to running spy missions well past ad nauseum because trying to farm affinity in public games has been an exercise in frustration lately, but I digress. Kavats, much like Kubrows, have AI that is just complex enough that it can try to do a bunch of different stuff, but woefully under-equipped to do any of it to any reasonable degree. They run all over the place, tend to stand there and get shot while doing absolutely nothing, occasionally just straight up derp and stand in some godforsaken corner of the map until you die and revive, because they seem to get stuck in some loop of some kind trying to do something but have no way of breaking out of it themselves. They have really cool animations where they punch down, pounce or leap off walls during their attacks, but in practice these animations waste time and result in heavily underperforming. If you load them up with too many of the behaviour mods, they can sort of just end up wasting time doing a bunch of shit that isn't useful. Kavats don't even do much damage per hit. Their base damage is just 80, in combination with an excruciatingly slow rate of doing so because of said animations. When they do decide they actually want to do something, when Sharpened Claws actually hit something meaningful, when something like Charm actually activates, when the Adarza Kavat isn't stuck in a goddamn loop and actually uses Cat's Eye, then they can be really good. But most of the time they just aren't. My recommendation, use a Sentinel. Save the Kavats as something cute to have in your Lisette. Only bring them with you on a mission if you really like having a space cat that much. Personally, I don't. If you do feel like using Kavats, then these are the builds I've sort of moved towards. The general build I have on my Smita Kavat includes Sharpened Claws to deal with enemy armor, Pounce for a little bit of crowd control, Shelter to help cover you while reviving allies, and completely ignores Maim and Bite because Kavat damage isn't even that good due to the aforementioned slow attack rate. On the other hand, I have an offensive build on my Adarza Kavat. I still have Sharpened Claws on here since I feel like that's probably the single best general Kavat mod, but I do have Maul and Bite on here just because of the Cat's Eye ability. But I personally don't want to use the Adarza Kavat anyway, since that breed tends to get stuck in an AI loop more often from my own experience. But as always, you should tailor the mods to your own preferences anyway. In either case, their ability to be useful and not die will be tied to your own Warframe. Some of the best Warframes to pair with either a Kubrow or a Kavats are Valkyr, Inaros, or some other similarly tough frames. The Link mods take the Warframe stats values after mods and add them onto the Kavat health, armor, and shields respectively. So that can result in some pretty impressive numbers. And likewise, if you use kind of a weird build or an especially fragile frame, the numbers are very much not impressive. So another reason why I personally would gravitate towards Sentinels instead is just because of the Naja build I use. So yeah, in conclusion, the Kavats have a lot of potential but are held back by the exact same AI problems that affected Kubrows since their introduction. But they're cats, and the internet loses its collective mind over cats all the time, so fuck it. Thank you for watching my rather belated video on Kavats. All comments are appreciated, and I hope to see you around next time. For other Warframe content, you can click down below to check my previous companion video on the Worm and Worm Prime, my opinions on the Silva and Aegis, or maybe check on my playthrough of Dark Souls 3. And as always, good luck, have fun, and take care.